Hearts of Iron 4 is probably my favorite game of all time, and it is definitely my most played game of all time. I've around 2,600 hours since it was first released all the way back in the year 2016. If you're unfamiliar for any reason, it is a grand strategy game set during World War II from 1936 to 48. While it is a grand strategy game, the focus is almost entirely on warfare, with the game having very little political or economic gameplay. In the game, you pick a nation during World War II to play as, and you either guide it through World War II with either a historical playthrough or some alternate history paths. The game has quite a lot of alternate history paths for almost every nation, whether that is the Tsar coming back to rule Russia, or a democratic Germany, or the communists winning the Spanish Civil War. There's almost a million possibilities. And that's not even mentioning all the mods that completely transform the game, such as The Fire Rises, which sets the game during modern day, where civil wars and mass unrest affect the world, or Kaiserreich, where Germany won World War I. Hearts of Iron 4 is Paradox's biggest game and has a very supportive and vibrant community around the game. But one of the biggest criticisms of Hearts of Iron 4 and its community is that it's often stereotyped as a hotbed for extremists and Nazi sympathizers. So let me just be clear, I strongly disagree with that assessment. A lot of people say it just for the memes, just for the lulz, to make fun of themselves and the community. But the vast majority of players are just simply history enthusiasts, strategy gamers, or people who love exploring alternate history scenarios. Everyone I've ever interacted with within the community, whether on Reddit, YouTube, or in real life, has seemed to be a well-adjusted, regular person. Well, some of the people I know in real life thought it was really funny to play the Soviet Union national anthem in high school, but other than that, regular people. However, I do believe that Hearts of Iron 4 does tend to attract more extremists compared to other Paradox titles, and that's largely because of its modern setting and subject matter. Many of the political movements and figures that are shown in-game remain relevant or controversial today, which does unintentionally draw in some people with extreme views. Now, this obviously doesn't reflect the community as a whole, but it has unfortunately led to the stereotype that Hearts of Iron 4 fans are Nazis. But a follow-up criticism to that is that Paradox enables these fans by not depicting or showing atrocities in-game on the Axis side. There are no references to the Holocaust or many other atrocities that the Axis committed, like the rape of Nanking or many other crimes that the Japanese committed. But why does Paradox refuse to engage with what is ultimately a key part of the World War II story? Now, in every other war crimes happen. I mean, one of my favorite historical figures, Caesar, genocided the Gauls. According to Plutarch, around 1 million Gauls died, and then another 1 million were enslaved. Which, again, Plutarch obviously doesn't have the most accurate numbers, but obviously a huge quantity of people died who were not combatants. But in Paradox's game about Rome, Imperator Rome, they have no qualms showing this or gamifying it. A big part of the game is enslaving people that you conquer. Or even Stellaris, another big Paradox title, it is a big meme in the community that genociding aliens is fun and it helps make your game run better. Many people have a lot of memes and jokes inside the community about killing aliens and only liking humans. And the game even lets you choose how to genocide the aliens. Whether you just want to kill them all, or force them to stop breeding, or force them to migrate, we'll call it. Or even Europa Universalis 4, which takes place during the height of slavery and colonialism. There are gamified things in there of transitioning people's cultures, and killing all the natives. So other Paradox games clearly don't have any qualms about showing real world or fake horrors that occurred in real life or maybe didn't occur in real life. I think it is ultimately an ethics question on whether or not it is okay to gamify a horror that happened when people who are still alive experienced it. In my opinion, I think Paradox made the right choice. I don't think that they should be gamifying or showing the Holocaust in any form. Of course, in-game, one of your settings for occupied territories is brutal oppression, which does make a slight allusion to the Holocaust by having people in Holocaust uniforms for the little cover on it. But other than that, the game does not really touch on the topic at all. And again, I think this is for multiple reasons. I think the first reason, it's just bad press for the game to allow the player to engage with the Holocaust or other ethnic cleansings that occurred. I can already imagine the YouTube videos coming out about speed running the Holocaust, or all the articles written about how Hearts of Iron 4 allows you to be a Nazi and kill all the Jews. It's just really not a good look for a game, especially as one as big and popular as Hearts of Iron 4. Other World War II games also choose to not really talk about it. I mean, like most COD games that take place during World War II, the topic is not really mentioned. The only example I can think of is Call of Duty World War II, where your best friend is Jewish and he eventually gets captured. But even then, it's not really a central part of the story. They just kind of brush up against it. And I think that's mostly because it's not fun to talk about. The same reason most historical atrocities are not mentioned when you talk about it. You know, when you talk about kings and queens and medieval warfare in the Holy Roman Empire, you usually don't talk about sacking towns or all the rapes that the soldiers did. You just talk about the fun stuff. As I mentioned before, other Paradox games have no issue depicting atrocities, like the Victoria series, where slavery and colonialism is on full display, and they even have a whole in-depth racism mechanic. But I think that's a lot more acceptable because it's so long ago that no one really cares too much. Obviously, those issues still plague us and are still somewhat relevant to society today. But nobody really cares about depicting slavery that happened in the 1800s. It's not really a big issue. And also in games, slavery is not good to use. You're not incentivized in any way to continue slavery. And then in Stellaris' case, it's all fake racism and fake genocide. There are no aliens. There are no real world xenophobes, you know. There's nobody out there saying that we should kill all aliens because aliens don't exist, as we know. I think there also is a bit of an ethical reason not to include this stuff because it's generally not good to gamify real human suffering. I think gamifying genocide does somewhat run the risk of trivializing real human suffering, especially when the real survivors are still alive. Now, I have heard some people say that war crimes should be included in a non-interactive way, like a pop-up event that sort of forces you to deal with what's going on when you play as a fascist. But I don't think this would actually add anything to the game. I mean, if you're playing Hearts of Iron 4, you probably know about the Holocaust or other atrocities committed. Like, even if you don't like history, you are probably familiar with the Holocaust. I don't think a pop-up adds anything to the game or makes you introspective about being a fascist, because fascists are just the most fun to play in-game. It's a game about war. Fascism allows you to conquer more territories. I don't think anybody is playing as Nazi Germany in-game and coming out the other side being a Nazi. I don't think that a pop-up event would really add anything. Not to mention, Hearts of Iron 4 pop-ups are really bland in the base game and they don't really go into much depth. Maybe if you would add pop-ups a la like the Fire Rises or the New Order, where it really shows how people at the time were feeling and has really good writing and shows you multiple perspectives, I think that might be cool to add. But just adding a regular Hearts of Iron 4 pop-up that just says, all Jewish people are dead because of you, I don't think that's going to add anything or make it less jarring. I mean, that's really all I have. You know, to wrap things up, I think Hearts of Iron 4 is an incredible game that lets you dive into the World War II strategy without delving too much into the darkest parts of history. That's all I have. Thank you so much for watching, liking, and subscribing. Coming at you with a new video every Tuesday. That's all I have. Remember that Jesus loves you.